So welcome to Anthro PYQ series. Today we are discussing about two questions from hominin evolution. Basically, these are all not characteristics. These are all related to theories of human evolution and their dispersal or colonization of across the earth. So here you should remember UPSC is a most mindless fellow. This is the 15 marker question and this is the 10 marker question. This 10 marker question is part of the 15 marker question, but he had given as a two separate questions and which has 10 marker one, 15 marker one. So anyhow, we should discuss these two questions thoroughly. So first question is, so critically discuss the centrality of African continent narrative in the human evolution process. So the demand of the question is, how can we justify Africa continent is the origin of human evolution and later they colonized the rest of the continents? So that evidences we have to speak. So one of the evidence is nothing but mitochondrial evidences. So this is how I told you. The question number 2 is nothing but a part of the question number 1. So anyhow, we will deal it. So first one, what should you write for this concept means? So to prove African origin and dispersal of human beings, we need to take fossil evidences and genetic evidences and archaeological evidences, because in anthropology, if you try to write the hominin fossils, those were Dryopithecus, later Ardipithecus, and Australopithecines, Homo habilis. These fossils exclusively found in the East African Rift Valley. So East African Rift Valley. So Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, in these regions. And these fossils were nowhere else found in outside the Africa. That indicates East Africa was the cradle of human evolution. So you can see the timeline also. Ardipithecus group evolved. So 4.5 million years ago, these fossils yielded in the armies of Ethiopia. Armies is a site in which is present in the Ethiopia country. So Australopithecines afferences, also we call this fossil as a Lucy, 3.2 million years ago, same found in the Ethiopia. So Homo habilis found in the Waldovian gorge of Tanzania, and these fossil was the first tool users or tool makers. So next one is Homo erectus. So these earliest Homo erectus fossils were found in Kobe-Fora, Kenya, and they were at the after 1 million years later, after 1 million years ago, later they started to disperse into Europe, East Asia, okay, West Asia, then East Asia, Southeast Asia. This is the how migratory routes occurred. So Homo sapiens. So these Homo sapiens were earliest evolved in the Africa itself. The evidences come from the Homo kibish. This is also found again in Ethiopia, and these fossils were belongs to 2 lakh years ago. That means all the fossils sequentially ranging from 5 million years ago to 2 lakh years ago, everything found in Africa. But rest of the continents given Erectus and later Homo sapiens. That means earliest fossils were not found, indicates that first Homo genus evolved in the Africa. So this is the so fossil evidences you have to write. So the next one is archaeological evidences. So earliest human made tools that belongs to 2.6 million years ago. So those were called as Waldovian tools made by Homo habilis that found in the Africa itself. And Acheulean hand axes, they were widespread and occurred entire Africa by the time of 1.7 million years ago. And the human made tools other than the Acheulean hand axes also found in other continents also. But the thing is, the oldest dating method reveals that Acheulean hand axes of Africa were the oldest when compared to Acheulean tools of other continents. So this indicates that the tool making present earliest in Africa continent itself. So symbolic behaviors such as paintings, wall paintings or engravings. So Blombos cave in South Africa, which yielded 70,000 years ago symbolic behavior in the form of engraved ochre and beads. So this bead making is nothing but a artistic or belief activity. So artistic or belief activity first found in Africa itself, and that belongs to 70,000 years ago. So this is the secondary evidences of archaeological. And third one is molecular genetic evidences. So this is actually we use maternal DNA, mitochondrial DNA, as well as paternal DNA, specifically Y chromosome. So Y chromosomes are passed from male to son or father to son. So maternal DNA, mother's DNA or mitochondrial DNA passed mother to children, both sons and daughters. So sons and daughters. So now you can see genetic evidences such as mitochondrial, Eve and Adam. You should remember these two keywords. Eve and Adam, mythologically we considered as a first human beings. So who was the first female human being? That is the Eve hypothesis, mitochondrial hypothesis. The modern, all the population, the current population, all descended from a Eve. She was lived nearly 2 lakh years ago. So all the African present population has various genetic diversities in the mitochondrial DNA. So mitochondrial DNA of African population as exhibited. So L0, L1, L2, L3 haplogroups. But outside the Africa population has only one variety in this haplogroups. That indicates that one group of people from Africa migrated outside the Africa. So more diversity present in Africa when it comes to the mitochondrial DNA, less diversity present in the outside the Africa, and that diversity also part of Africa. That reveals that outside the Africa people were actually migrated from Africa. So this is how mitochondrial Eve hypothesis revealing that. So out of Africa theory is correct. Humans evolved in the Africa and later migrated to other areas. So Y chromosomes, Adam hypothesis. Here you can see African population has high genetic diversity on Y chromosome that belongs to A and B haplogroups. But outside Africa, people have only subgroup of African population. So that means this actually subgroup of haplogroups migrated from Africa. That is the reason same mutations, same diversity is present in outside the Africa people. So that indicates that why high genetic diversity in Africa. So high genetic diversity in Africa revealed that when people are longer duration staying in the same region, they might subject to natural selection and more genetic diversity occur. If people found outside the Africa were recent migrators such that they have less genetic diversity, and outside African people are best example of founder effect. So they are best examples of founder effect, and African people are best example of long-term evolution, that is macro evolution. So macro evolution. So this is also supporting genetic evidences also, or molecular biology evidences also supporting that more first human beings evolved in Africa, later migrated to outside. So this is how mitochondrial DNA used so to support the out of Africa theory. Second one is migration routes. So right now, if you observe the North America, South America, Red Indians or primitive tribes DNA is similar to Asian tribes DNA. When we observe the mitochondrial DNA of American tribes and Asian tribes, so both have same mutations or same diversity. That indicates that American people actually migrated from Asia by crossing the Bering Strait entered into North America, then they spread to the Southern America. So this is how migratory routes, and you can see that the more genetic diversity in Indian population when it comes to mitochondrial DNA, which specify that the ancient tribal population stepped into South Asia actually continued without having any discontinuity. This is how migratory routes, evidences of out of Africa is studied by using the mitochondrial DNA. So this is actually subpart which came for 10 marker in the same year. So that you should remember. Then what are all the criticisms? So here, so Wolpoff, he proposed a theory. So the modern Homo sapiens, so the present population, modern Homo sapiens. So modern Homo sapiens actually evolved multi places rather than in a African continent. So that is the reason he criticized that the earlier evidences are only supporting modern human beings also evolved in Africa. Multi-regional theory of Wolpoff supporting that. So actually modern Homo sapiens evolved in West Asia, Northern Africa, and Europe. So they mated along with the previous species. So that is Neanderthal and etc. So the modern population were descendants of. So descendants of Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. So Neanderthals interbreeding. So interbreeding, it was also a genetic evidence revealed. So this is directly contradicting. So they agreed, Wolpoff agreed that, so though pre-modern species were part of Africa, modern species we cannot put into Africa solely because they might have evolved in multiple places. So this is the direct criticism. So that what is the current view? So by considering Wolpoff hypothesis and archaeological, fossil and genetic evidences which support African origin, the current view is humans originated in Africa, but later they interbred with the previous species, Homo species, so that the modern population were nothing but a mixed race of sapiens as well as the Neanderthals. So this is how you have to write the conclusion. So this is all about for today. Tomorrow we will discuss about another question in the next video.